The title of this video is How to Do an Uncontested Divorce in California. And I'm going to tell you exactly how. One thing I want to say is that divorce, especially if you have an agreement and you and your spouse are on the same page, shouldn't be that complicated. And it's true, it's not rocket science, but it is pretty complicated in California because there are so many procedures that you need to file. Even if you have a full agreement, you have to do all the forms. They have to be filed correctly. They have to be served, meaning delivered to your spouse correctly. You have to do your financial disclosures, and then you have to prepare an actual divorce judgment. So what you want to do is make sure that if you're doing it on your own, you have the support you need in case something goes wrong, or just so that you're not wasting a ton of time, because it makes absolutely no sense to research for hours and hours and hours divorce procedure if there's a service like ours, Hello Divorce, that will handle all that stuff for you in an affordable way. So how do you get an uncontested divorce in California? Well, first of all, what you need to do is file a divorce petition, the FL-100. And with the divorce petition comes the summons, and if you have children, the UCCJEA. None of these forms are particularly complicated. If you use our online interview that asks basic, plain language, no legalese questions, then your forms will automatically populate for you. If you do it on your own, you can download the forms from our website, or you can go directly to the California court website to download the forms and prepare them on your own. After you have the petition, you need to ensure that you file it with the court and that you serve it on your spouse. And if you're working cooperatively, you probably don't want to get a third-party process server to serve your spouse. It's never feels good to have a random person come up, especially in this global pandemic times where we're trying to distance ourselves from people, to have someone come up and serve you with a bunch of documents. So the good news is that you can use another form which allows your spouse to sign a notice and acknowledgement of receipt saying that he or she did in fact get the divorce paperwork, doesn't necessarily have to agree with it, but that they received it, and then that will be filed with the court. You also need to serve your spouse by mail, which seems kind of redundant if they've signed a notice and acknowledgement of receipt saying that they've actually received the paperwork, but it's important, a proof of service by mail. If you use Hello Divorce, of course, we'll handle all of that for you. The next step is your financial disclosures. And you have to explain what your budget is, meaning your estimated expenses or your actual expenses, and you need to fill out some paperwork that explains what assets you have and debts. So this is really important. It's 4 different forms. You only file one, sometimes 2. So you definitely want to file the form that says that you have in fact served your financial disclosures. And it's also good practice, since it's optional but often mandatory in some counties, to file your income and expense declaration. That's the FL-150. So if all of this seems kind of complicated, again, we offer services to help streamline it on hellodivorce.com, and we have a free guide that I will link to below that takes you through each step. This is just kind of high level. So you get your disclosures done, you make sure that they're served by mail to your spouse, and then the final step is the divorce judgment. And just a little pro tip here is that if you can get your spouse to sign an agreement on all your issues, right? Spousal support, whether you're going to pay it or receive it, for how long and how much, child support, child custody / parenting plan, and your property and debt division. If you have a full agreement on it, a lot of people submit the judgment, the FL-180, with all the attachments without having someone sign it, and that's just not a good idea, because the courts are going to scrutinize it a lot more, and there's much more likelihood that it will be rejected. If it is signed, if the agreement is signed and you submit it to the court, it's much more likely that on that first time, you're going to be able to get your judgment filed. You just have to make sure all the documents, all the attachments that go with the judgment, like a waiver of trial and waiver of further financial disclosures, actually do in fact get completed. And then you submit to the court, you wait for the judge to sign off on it, and you are officially divorced in California.